Hi, this is Jeremy from Service Fusion's Business Academy. I want to talk to you today about increasing your average service ticket revenue. Now, this is important because it boosts profit without you having to work as hard to acquire new customers. Average ticket revenue is raised, believe it or not, by simply not trying to get our techs to sell, but by offering consumers options to choose from. Think about it. No one likes an ultimatum. We go somewhere, we say, this is broke, here's the price. We're offering only one choice, to buy or not to buy. When we give options, we're offering multiple choices, not to buy or not to buy, but simply which choice to choose. It provides a less pressured interaction and shows that as a company, we're flexible. We're giving up control to the customer to let them choose an option that fits their needs and their budget at that moment. Options allow the customer to decide on trade-offs. It puts them in charge and creates ultimately less stress from their side of the transaction. So let's talk about some important things you need to keep in mind about options. First and foremost, we need to offer the correct number of options. They need to be built properly on each successive option. We have to frame them correctly. In other words, use the correct name. We should use a centered anchor option. This would be the one that we point to as we show the consumer as our most commonly selected option. We also need to be aware of how we stair-step the prices of our options. Flexibility with creating options that are unique to each customer is also important. So let's start by talking about the correct number of options to offer. Now, I'm sure at some point you've gone into an ice cream store similar to Baskin-Robbins and marveled at how people stop and they can't make up their mind. Well, this one looks good, or that one looks good, or this is my favorite, but I think I'll try this. This is what we typically call analysis paralysis. If we want to avoid that when presenting options to consumers, we need to limit our options. 3 options are ideal. We should never have more than 4 options. If we only offer 3 options, it becomes easier to choose for the customer. Next is stair-stepping our options. Think 1 scoop, 2 scoop, 3 scoops. When we stair-step our option, notice how feature number 1 carries through on each option. We don't take it away to force trade-offs. Each option is built from the option to the left, good, better, best. Now, most people don't want to settle for just good when they can get best. So the names of our option packages do make a difference in where a customer gravitates. Item number 3 in our list of important points about options is framing the option correctly. Word choice is important. Advertisers use wordplay to draw attention to certain things and to obscure others. I mean, realistically, who wants to buy yogurt that has 20% fat when you can have one that's 80% fat-free? Same thing, but the naming and the difference of verbiage does impact the way a consumer purchases. Anytime you go to a restaurant or movie theater, they offer you small, medium, and large options. Or you book a flight and you choose between coach, premium economy, and business class. That's the good, better, best option bundling. You're going to need to experiment with naming conventions to find what works best for the packages you want to offer and the specific type of customer you're targeting. Now, the next tip might be a little confusing. It's called using the center stage effect. Let me ask you a question. What's the best way to sell a $2,000 watch? Put it next to a $10,000 watch. The culprit here is a common cognitive bias as humans we have called anchoring. Anchoring refers to the tendency to heavily rely on the first piece of information offered when making decisions. In other words, presenting 3 options and pointing to the center option as the most common. Putting the recommended service in the center gives a reference point for a less expensive option and a more robust and costlier option. Interestingly, studies show that 66% of people will select the middle option only 23% the low option, and 11% will pick the higher option. So using this logic, your business can get 76% higher than your basic level of service just by offering options. So let's look at some examples of how we can frame options a little different than just good, better, best. In this case, looking at faucets, we have an economy faucet, a premium faucet, and a deluxe faucet. Notice that each option builds value. And hey, who wants to buy an economy anything? Another thing we can utilize is what's called fear of missing out. This is where our top tier offering has some type of limited time item that draws the consumer to capture that before it's gone. Finally, as we stair step, our prices should follow approximately a 20 to 30% increase, no more than 30%. Here's an example of customizing our options. Now, replacing a motor doesn't necessarily mean a customer needs a drain line cleaning. But the fact is, if it's summer, we know the customer hasn't had service, it may be something worth looking at and an option we may want to offer. And of course, we always want to offer our maintenance membership to someone who does not have it. But what if that's not an option we think the customer will need? Then we customize it. Perhaps even though the contactor is still good, we may notice it's pitted and we may want to recommend a better contactor that has a longer life and avoid the possibility of future breakdown. So let's review what we've discussed. Offer the correct amount of options, ideally 3. Build each option from the previous option and eliminate trade-offs. Keep all the features, adding new features as you step up. Frame your options correctly. Names and what you write about the features matter, so you have to test combinations in your market. Anchor everything to the center, to the most commonly selected option that you want customers to choose. Spread the prices correctly. Stagger in about 25% increments. And finally, be flexible with creating options unique to each customer's needs. If you implement option building and use options, you will find your average service ticket doesn't just grow, it can literally explode. And that is your tip from the Service Fusion Business Education Academy. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out or email us. Thanks and have a great day.